What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your daily creative reading for August 5th. This is a super fun day. It's Friday. I feel though that Fridays don't matter so much when you just love where you are and what you're doing, but TGIF nonetheless. So I've had this kind of wild experience. So Wednesday night I had a dream about a blue bee. And then I had a dream about bees. Oh, my ears ringing now. And in the dream, my mom and my aunt were there, and there were these just two totally different outlooks on life, right? One of them was my mom was in a place that wasn't necessarily the happiest or the most pleasant, and it reflected in her surroundings. Like, she had this dingy apartment that was like older, and the carpets were really old. It reminded me of a basement with like all wood paneling. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because that can be a sensory comfort too, right? Like a cool room with lower light is my happy place sometimes, right? Especially if I'm feeling overwhelmed that week or whatever. So um anyways, nonetheless, it was just such a wildly different experience because there was so much clutter in there. And then across the hall in the same apartment building, my aunt had this like deluxe apartment that was fully furnished, tons of space, absolutely spacious. At one point, it even had like a fully stocked ice cream freezer, which, like, ice cream isn't overly important to me. I'm lactose intolerant, so it's important that it's not important to me. But nonetheless, it was just this wildly different experience based on perception, right? Just being open and curious. And they're sisters, obviously, but it was just like this. Well, not obviously, that doesn't even matter. But it's like, I don't know. It's almost like I'm hearing the words "a path diverged in the woods." Like, so it was just this conscious choosing and decision making. And then, it's just this kind of feeling of being led by perception, right? And then, so I, fired up YouTube after, just having my coffee and easing into the day a bit. And, one of the things that I found was there was a reading that talked about the bees buzzing. It was Zane Intuitive Guidance. Then he talked about keys, and I was like, oh, yeah, I found a key on a shelf at work last night, 222 on the time. And I was like, oh, do I need a tetanus shot after this? Because it was it was broken. I was like, ooh. And it was completely rusted over, and it looked like it had been in the sea for several years. So anyways, I just thought to myself, oh, okay, this is really interesting. And then it was just like, one after the other, just these different things that kept finding me. And then I had popped into the Pisces reading by Awakening to Spirit, so Cindy. And in it, she had talked about, there was the cheetah card. And right away, I was like, oh, yeah, you're a goddamn cheetah, right? Like from the book Untamed by Glennon and Doyle. And then I'm going to read to you. I flipped open the book just to be like, what does this have to say? This is where I'm taking the reading, so that's why it's taken a 3-minute explanation. Not the best intro, but so I took the dust jacket off. But anyways, so I'm gonna read this to you. This is how she wrote about love, but so she wrote this about love, but I think about it just in general, right? Like, yes, to apply to love too. Like, that's on my mind. But so just anyways, it's page 5. 5 and 6. So when I saw Abby, I remembered my wild. I wanted her, and it was the first time I wanted something beyond what I had been trained to want. I loved her, and it was the first time I loved someone beyond those I had been expected to love. Creating a life with her was the first original idea I'd ever had, and the first decision I made as a free woman. After 30 years of contorting myself to fit inside someone else's idea of love, I finally had a love that fit, custom made for me by me. I finally asked myself what I wanted instead of what the world wanted from me. I'm starting to tear up. Oh my God, why am I such a sap? I felt alive. I tasted freedom, and I wanted more. I looked hard at my faith, my friendships, my work, my sexuality, my entire life, and asked how much of this was my idea. Do I truly want any of this? Or is this what I was conditioned to want? Which of my beliefs are my own creation and which were programmed into me? How much of who I've become is inherent, and how much was just inherited? How much of the way I look and speak and behave is just how other people have trained me to look and speak and behave? Oh, okay. How many of the things I've spent my life chasing are just dirty pink bunnies? It's earlier in that chapter, which is why you should buy the book and read it. Who was I before I became who the world told me to be? Yeah. So if you're wondering, sometimes intuition knocks and then sometimes it kicks down the fucking door. And that's kind of what happened this morning. Oh, my teardrop made a little dent mark. Anyways. So the theme that keeps jumping out is your first original idea, uninherited, your first original idea. So I set the intention before doing this reading, so I'll jump in, but yeah, that's kind of where it all went, and I'm sharing this in the event that it helps somebody, it helps people, but it's just your first original idea. So let's dive in and see. The past 24, I would say 24 hours are just, the synchronicities are ridiculous and nothing short of like, nothing short of wild to me. But sometimes life is like that, right? Sometimes it all comes and it's just like this floodgate that goes and like wide open. It just bursts wide open. And I think you can be terrified by the sound of the rushing water, or you can recognize it for what it is and maybe enjoy the ride a little bit. So I'm enjoying the ride. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives? This are original ideas. You are magic, so I'll read that one first. And then we also have you are magical, so a lot of magic afoot, I suppose. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you are magic. Well, that's the right side of it. Okay. Dearest you, we know everything in the universe is perfect, even in its flaws, and we view the creations of spirit in total awe. All is unique, yet part of a unity of existence. But the human experience is a little different from ours. You tend to have a specific standard for what you consider ideal, and this isn't serving you right now. So forget your idea of perfection. Holy shit, your first original idea. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Okay, so forget your idea of perfection and see through our eyes, allowing things to be as they are without judgment. Don't wait until a perfect moment or mood to start something. Instead, enter life with all its flawsomeness. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Let others be who they are too. Imperfect and human, complex or simple, it doesn't matter, for there's always something to discover, experience, and love. When you drop the need for an ideal, you uncover the real treasure, which will be far more interesting and valuable. Loving you like crazy. Wow. Wow. Okay. I was like, oh, when do I do this reading? It feels like energy's just like rushing on through, like just different signs and things like that. So, wowza. Floodgates indeed. Okay. 8 of Cups. Okay. 8 of Cups. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives for August 5th, please? Messages from my daily creatives. 8 of Cups, Page of Pentacles. The call to adventure is new. The call to adventure is new. Possibly new work or new projects. I think there is a focus on your work, though, whatever that means for you, like whether that's work in a specific location or on a project or whatever that means. I'm hearing industrious, like wherever you feel productive is where this is applying to in your life. Sometimes people feel productive at home with family. It feels like that's the indicator, maybe the indicator light I'm hearing. The Hermit, the Wheel. Wow. Ace of Pentacles, new and new. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives, please, for this original idea, our first original idea? I mean, some of you might be your multiple original ideas. Queen of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles, 7 of Swords. Yeah, on the bottom, Queen of Swords and Hierophant. And Death. Oh my gosh. Okay. Whoa. Anyways, that was like a rush. That was like the floodgates opening right there. So let me do this here. As much as like, look at her little face. It's so cute. Oh, adorable. Okay, just so that you can see the cards. As much as I would love for you to, feel enamored with my cat. Nonetheless, I feel like I'm moving away from things that don't necessarily satisfy you anymore. And I'm getting this feeling like it's not just a thing that, like, it's not just me. Like there's so many different ways that I'm, picking this up in conversations and different readings I'm seeing. Like, it's like there's this bigger shift. There's an undercurrent of a shift, but there's something bigger that's unfolding, right? And it could just be Lionsgate, like around this time of year. That's the energy that gets activated, is manifesting its change, its shifting of big energies. It's the fruition energies, right? It's the threads of fruition. And so I feel like there's this sense of moving away, but it's moving away from things that aren't flowing. It's moving away from things that aren't, and you don't want things that are easy alone, because easy isn't, that's such a misnomer, because like there's ease, which comes from within you. And then there's easy, which is that standard and expectation that it talks about in here, right? You're exactly where you're supposed to be. When you drop the need for an ideal, you uncover the real treasure, which will be far more interesting and valuable, right? So it's like easy or ease, right? So what's your expectation, or what's been your expectation? And the Page of Pentacles here speaks to this call to adventure of like new opportunities, new connections, and maybe just a new way of seeing yourself, and yourself emplaced in the work that you do, right? Like, what do you consider your work? Because your work can be, your brick and mortar location. It can also be the way that you work. It can be the way that you serve people. It can be a whole bunch of things. But it's like wherever that sense of, it's like this grounding energy. It's like feeling grounded. Um, I get the feeling though that there's something here to, there's a lot here about shift and change, but I'm also getting that the pentacle energy is speaking to some kind of grounding your work, or grounding something in work. Possibly like reality, like there could have been this 5D vision that you had, or this like sort of spiritual vision that you held of something, with the hermit here in the thing that could become a tower if it goes unchecked. And I feel as though it's sort of like, it's not that your wisdom could become the problem. It's that it's almost like misapplication of the wisdom, to assume that wisdom is something that could help you make decisions, or like there's something that wisdom could do that destiny can't, right? Destiny's on your side. And like fated energy, what does that mean? Like you have a choice at all times, right? And I talked about that before. It's like, what is opportunity other than what you make through the recognition of what's most important to you? When you wait for people to bring that to you, it can be, it's it's interesting, because you can wait for opportunities to come, or you can recognize what's most important, and then the opportunities are that they've been there all along, in a way, right? In a way. So it's like it sort of realigns the energies so that you're seeing with much greater clarity, which the Queen of Swords is here, so that like is not a surprise to me. But um I just, yeah, like I'm seeing that sort of sense of like what could become a tower here, while you're on this sort of anchoring and grounding journey away from things that don't fulfill you, right? And this isn't to talk about like people in that way, because that can be really hurtful. I think it's like this is situations that disconnected you from your heart. I think situations that disconnected you from your heart, where it's like I'm hearing sunk cost. Like it's like there was so much work that you were putting into it, that it disconnected you from you. And that's sort of where it's almost like this sort of very gentle and easy offering, not just of yourself, but to yourself in a really healing way. Because I think this is also putting in some of that work, right? That new is helping to anchor this work, but the work is showing up in, a project sense, job sense, yes. But it's also like the craft of, loving yourself as best as you can, right? And this is like working on that original idea. Like, it's not a wands card, but it's almost like something that's more stable than what you might have thought, right? Your first original idea. Your first original idea. It's okay, Chicken Little. The neighbor has their grandchildren over, and it's very sweet, because you'll hear these little giggles, but they were just spraying a bucket, and it's almost like my cat inherently knows like there's water that is moving very quickly on some plane of existence within a 4-mile radius, and so she shifts and moves. But nonetheless, yeah. And Eight of Pentacles, like this reminds me, like there's eights here too, right? Like let's not forget that there's eights. We have the Eight of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups, which is like 8-8. So, Lionsgate. In the antagonist position, we have the Ace of Pentacles here, which is really interesting because it's almost like if you wait, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, thank you so much, Spirit. That's like immediate resonance right in here. So it's like if you wait for, something, if you think that opportunities are going to come from, some alignment in the universe, that is true in part, but the real story is the call to adventure is the recognition of what's most important. And that pulls things to you, not because it's like there's some magic working, but because you know what to look for and you know what you want. So your energy is much more fixed and focused, and it directs it in a way that's like it is magical in a way because there are so many opportunities around at all times. Like we live in a very Seven of Cups world, but the time that it comes down to, it's like the Eight of Cups to me is almost this place of like I know it's like the recognition of importance. The Seven of Cups is having all of the choices in the world, and the Eight of Cups is saying I know what's most important now. And then it's like you're anchored in that, and that is where it's like the soup starts to simmer. The soup starts to simmer, and that's where what could become a tower is not just staying in this hermit place, but believing that wisdom alone is going to do something profound, where wisdom alone, it operates not in a vacuum, but nor in a silo. It's something that is deeply connected. I'm seeing like a rhizome that's connected across, that's like deeply connected within. So it's this sense of the wisdom that comes from within you is one thing. The wisdom that comes from within you is one thing, but then there's the wisdom that comes from spirit. When you know what you want. So do you know what you want? And it's been coming up so loud. My third eye is itchy. Yeah, it's like, do you know what you want? And you don't have to shout it from like, whatever, but just the recognition that when you see it, because in that book too, this is so poignant. In this book too, come on, Chicken Little. She's trying to creep across here. Come on, baby girl. Oh no, you're just going to show your little furry face? You going to show off? Come on. I love how she's like, actually, the whole reading is about me. Look out, baby girl. There you go. But yeah, she talks about seeing Abby for the first time and just being like, there you are. Yeah, just like, yeah. But that's the thing is like in life, not just love or anything like that. It's like all of life kind of works like that, right? Like we get pulled into the flow. We recognize what's most important. We look for the signs, feel frustrated as hell because so impatient. Ooh, it's bad. And I know that that's my Achilles heel. But it's like because so much meaning gets made from the impatience. So much meaning gets made because we're looking for meaning. We're looking for the thing when what we're actually in that place and time to do is just to recognize and watch and sort of be in our, the dude mode where we're just kind of floating, not because we're non-committal, not because we don't want to anchor, but because we're just noticing so that we can take stock and then the magic starts to flow. Because without that sort of sense of direction, it's really hard to call things towards us, to call things that are really important towards us. Yeah, because it's like this imbalance, right? And it's like recognizing it for what it is, recognizing the imbalance as such. Let me just go back to this part here before. So, and that's where it's almost like, it's like this reflection of a different time. Reflection of a different time. Why did that feel past lifey for 2.5 seconds? Because that's not a past life card. Anyways, could be for some people. Whoa. Okay, thank you so much. So I feel like my hematite, it's like my emotional support hematite. Oh, with the energies lately, let me tell you. And hematite doesn't actually do all the grounding work. You have to have that. You have to do that too. So, yeah. But nonetheless, so this Seven of Wands, I'm feeling like I'm hearing Calgon take me away. That's pretty much how it feels. Thank you, Spirit. There's a certain defensiveness, and it could be like you've kind of placed yourself in a little bit, not a bubble necessarily, not like a bubble, but it's almost like the challenge is like there's so many, I feel like this is like all of these different, it's like another seven, right? A seven options presenting themselves to you, be that in career, be that with people, be that, with friendships, with love. This could be even like it's summer, like vacation options, right? Like places you could go and things you could do and see. But there's ones that are most important to you. And this, like, you think about it this way: if it's just vacations, it's like, do you go to X, Y, and Z place, or do you anchor into one that you're really going to love and that will nourish you, that you need? Like, it's like, that's where people say, like, I didn't know that I needed it, but I know I wanted it. Or I didn't want it, but I knew like, it was something about like needs and want. My brain is fuzzy right now. But it's just like, the moment where you say, I didn't know that I needed something like that. And that's what I really wanted. And that's like, it's that kind of energy here where that's like the switch, right? It's like going within. It's like going within and understanding and taking a step back and being like, wait a hot minute here. It's like, it's that energy of knowing what to nourish and what to let go of, because you're really nourishing yourself. And that's where this comes through too, where it's not just an energy of like nurturing in isolation, or nurturing ideas or anything like that. It's like, this is how this is self-care, is like the recognition of what you want and need. Because I can want a million. At one point in time, I wanted a huge truck that was completely impractical, and like, it just, I mean, it still like gives off major butch vibes. Like, I'm still like, I don't know, but anyways, it's just like, it's like, I would like it because it sits really high up. Like, I just like that on the road and whatnot, but it's not practical, nor is it like particularly something that I want anymore. Right. And we can change all of those things, and they do change, but there's certain things and certain threads that we realize that, like, after big life changes, yeah, I'm trying to make sure that you can't really see my cat cleaning herself, because it's like inspiring for her, but not so much for us. But yeah, it's just this sense of like, what you wanted at one point, it's okay to just let that change and fall away. It's okay to let that change and fall away, and you don't have to carry the ghost of that because you feel obligated to it. Like, because it throws your energy into an imbalance, right? Now I'm going to move this back up. It throws your energy into a bit of an imbalance. Oopsies. Sorry about the shaking here. I think I've mentioned this, like, yeah, I think that's good. I've mentioned this, like, that I got this like tempered glass for my phone, and I can't really see as much. So it's like, I'm just, yeah. But anyways, I just feel like something's shifted, and it's like it's almost like you're carrying because you feel like you should. Maybe you should. What's the should? Like, I don't know. I don't know what that means for you, but I think about your first original idea. That's what this is, your first original idea. Your Ace of Pentacles meeting the Page of Pentacles, right? Your first original idea showing up as a person, embodied, like right before your eyes. Or it could be the way you're showing up for yourself, something along those lines. But it's like, you've got to recognize which one you want to carry, because the ghost of one you need to let go of in order to release and free yourself, but also to release and free that past, right? Because if it doesn't serve you, the energy of it certainly isn't served by staying there, because then it can't work its own magic. It can't work its own sense of the miraculous in your energy. It's like, I think about it in terms of my, this channel, and I've talked about this before, but just relating it to something to anchor it in. It's like, I think about with writing and all of that stuff, and like, there are so many different options for how that could go. And, thinking like, do I change the channel name, do I do things like that? And it's like, you have to be very cautious about getting caught up in too many ideas, right? That's where it's like, the ideation of something really can be anything. It can be anything, and it's really about what you want. It's about what you want, because that will, and that sounds so simple. It sounds so simple, but it comes down to that original idea, like your original idea. Who are you? Let me read that quote to you again. And again, I like this book. I've read so many times. I read it right before I transitioned. And I like, oh, it is fucking magic. But yeah, so, When I saw Abby, I remembered my wild. I wanted her, and it was the first time I wanted something beyond what I had been trained to want. I loved her, and it was the first time I loved someone beyond those I had been expected to love. Creating a life with her was the first original idea I'd ever had and the first decision I made as a free woman. After 30 years of contorting myself to fit inside someone else's idea of love, and think about this: love, work, whatever, right? That's not in there, but that's like, think about it in all those ways, right? I'd finally had a love that fit, custom made for me, by me. I'd finally asked myself what I wanted instead of what the world wanted from me. Like, that's really what this is. That's what this is. Can you get a book tattooed on your body? Not the name, just like the whole book, because that's how I feel like after I read that book, that's how I really felt. And it's, with transness and things like that, that's definitely a thing. Like, it just felt I just, like the skin that I had shed reading that book was incredible. But, yeah. And I think it's about discharging the energy, like discharging the energy in that it's not about right or wrong choices. It's the adaptability to understand that it's just whichever one you choose, right? There's no, and that's where it's almost like this Seven of Swords is showing up as like the way you think, like when people are like expectation versus reality, like this is your expectation of what that looks like. And it's not how it is at all. Like, you're not taking from anyone. There's no loss. There's no, like, it's all abundance. It's all abundance. And it's almost like releasing the need to control other people's experiences or filter it through, because you can care very deeply. But sometimes when you care very deeply like that, it can disconnect you from your own good. It can disconnect you from your own sense of empowerment and self. And that's really hard, because when you want everyone to win, when you want everyone to do well, which is generally speaking the case, sometimes it's misapplied, and I'm an stubborn fool sometimes, yes, but it's just like, how do you not it's just, there's no such thing as losing in when you're operating at a different frequency, because it's all just lessons. It's all learning, it's all love. And that's almost what this is, like this sense of clarity that's coming, in terms of whatever is shifting and changing, right? So if you're manifesting something through this Lionsgate portal on August 8th, then I mean, or if you are in a place where you are doing that, or activating that energy, just it's like being very clear about what you want, and just refusing to speak about things that don't matter. And that sounds really silly and basic, but well, it might sound silly. I don't think it's silly though, but it's just like, if you're in a place of reiterating the bad, then how will you recognize the good if you're so focused on the bad? And sometimes it's tough because things come up that you have to deal with. But then what happens from there is you can look at the things that are tough to deal with, and process them and see them for what they are. Because I really get this impression that there's no losing. There's no losing. And I think the transformation is a deepening of commitment to either yourself or to another person. If this is, deepening into your work, deepening into, like, there's a depth here, like a diving deep. That's Scorpio energy here. But there's like this there's a depth of commitment here that is accessible. And again, like, I think this Hierophant card is so beautiful. Just like, it's like somebody just figured out the punchline to life, right? and like, the punchline is so funny, because it's just like as easy as walking up a set of stairs. I mean, that set of stairs does not look particularly easy, but it's that easy. But it starts with you realizing that you can't really harm anyone. You can't really hurt anybody by choosing what you want. You won't lose friends. You won't lose, no one really loses. And if people feel that way, that's like half the story for them. Like, there's something that we all have to own in that, right? And that's, like, I've obviously felt like a bit sore and hurt and things like that when things don't go the way that I had expected or hoped. But that's where this really comes into play here. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Let others be who they are too. Imperfect and human, complex or simple, it doesn't matter. For there's always something to discover, experience, and love. Yeah, when you drop the need for an ideal, you uncover the real treasure, which will be far more interesting and valuable. And I feel like that's it, though. And this is possibly the Eight of Pentacles is like uncovering the real treasure, right? Uncovering the real treasure. So I feel like I've read into these cards so much. So just out of respect of time, I'm just going to pull 3 clarifying cards here and then the affirmation cards. Spirit, what messages do you have to clarify this? But also, how do we activate what we want and move towards that? How do we activate that energy beyond just the recognition of it? I'm making this question up as we go along based on the energy, but it feels right. It feels right. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it'll feel right. 9 of Cups. Emotional fulfillment. It'll feel right. Yeah, I'm really feeling, I'm feeling that. 9 of Cups. Devil. Hermit. Yeah. It'll feel right. You'll be able to recognize this is like, it's something that's, it's an internal process. The deck is definitely trolling me, but it's an internal process. There's nothing outside of you, stories that you've told yourself or that other people have told you. It's just, this is your original idea, right? Your original idea and the way that it reflects in your outward experience. The things you've been told, that's the one it's like, that's what needs to be transformed right now. That's what needs to be transformed. In terms of signs, generally speaking, there's Taurus, Scorpio. There's also some Jupiter energy here, so potentially Pisces or Sagittarius. We also have Virgo. We have Virgo twice, so that could be of emphasis, or the 6th house in your chart, or the way it's related to Mercury, sort of like data analysis, like over-analyzing perhaps, analyzing too many of the details, and that's where it's kind of throwing us, because we feel like there's some purpose that we have not yet uncovered, but maybe the purpose isn't something to be figured out, and the purpose is something to be learned and understood along the way, only through doing, only through experience, and that's something that you can't really get from anywhere. It's something you can't get from anywhere. And that's, the stories that you've been told that disconnect you from your inner wisdom. Okay. This was like an intense message. Oh my gosh. But I just felt compelled to put this together for you, before, getting on with parts of my day, because it's like all of the synchronicities kind of came crashing in, and it just feels like this openness, this spaciousness that's there now. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives, please? Messages for my daily creatives. I choose peace. Yeah. And that's honestly, when you choose what you want, you're choosing things that are valuable and important to you. That's really the choice you're making, is peace. You're making the peaceful choice, the more peaceful option, not because it's like easy, not because it of anything like that. It's because there is an ease that comes from, there's an ease and clarity that comes from choosing things that you want, your original idea, right? Your original idea, just the way that Glennon and Doyle worded it. But it's, yeah, so life does not want you to suffer. You struggle because you let life love you only so much. When there is drama in your life, let grace in. Let grace in. Yeah, that's really important. Let in the grace. Okay, so you are magical. All right, dear you, what is true for you? Can you be impeccable with your word? Sure you can. As long as it's not used to manipulate others, the truth can set everyone free. That's what I'm feeling from here, right? Like that clarity. Let go of the results, let go of your fears, and allow the truth to empower you and others. This will set into motion a kind of change that will be supportive of you and loving and all kinds of prosperous. This is not a time to compromise and hide your truth from others. Whatever it is you want, go for it, and be clear in your motives, especially with yourself. You'll be so happy you did. This is a time where you will tap into the power to co-create and manifest your best life. Doesn't that feel amazing? And the results? Miraculous. When you tell the truth and ask the same of others, you can learn a lot from life's bountiful lessons and achieve your dreams. Love you always. Yeah, this is really beautiful. You want one more? Okay. Interesting. Interesting. 3333 on the time. Life loves me. It's really like that flow, right? I follow my joy as well. Life loves me. Life loves us all. Look at yourself in a mirror, breathe in and say, life loves me. As you breathe out, smile. Repeat 10 times. That's a good prescription. I follow my joy. Your thoughts influence the kind of day you'll have. Name 3 ways you could make today even more enjoyable than you thought it was going to be. So that is your daily creative, I guess, experience. It feels like it was a whole freaking experience. Oh my gosh. This reading kind of sent me a few places, so I hope that it resonated, and that you just enjoyed it. So, feel free to like and subscribe if it did. Thank you so much for joining me as well. If you're part of my subscriber base already, I really appreciate you. I'm super grateful. This is awesome. So thank you. And wherever this finds you on the time space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope that it finds you very, very well, my friends. Take care.